voice inside of you. You have that burning dream and desire. You started your business. You have a message you want to get out to the world. But do you realize the potential that really lies inside of you? Are you playing at a small level, a medium level? Maybe you're playing at a big level, but you look at the people on TV, the musicians, the artists, the celebrities, and you go, wow, what are they doing that I can't? How do I get to that level? I am super excited to have Jonathan George on Expert Authority Effect interviews today because he is the human hitmaker. The people we've seen on TV, he's actually helping get there and bring out the best in them. And I'm excited to be asking him, what does he do to bring out the best in Ariana Grande, people from American Idol, America's Got Talent, Michaela Phillips, Harper Grace? What are the secrets? Because I know I've thought about it myself. I plan on reaching millions of people, inspiring people to be to be their better self and exponentially elevate the identity of humanity. That's why I started the show. But I got to ask him, and I can't wait to bring him up because is there any secrets that are different? Am I any different than any of them? Or are they just doing something different in a different way? I don't know the answers, but we're going to find out right after I thank our sponsor and bring him right back up.
Yep. Your background just went black. In the meantime, I just posted an amazing photo of us. There you are. Voila. I love it. Hey, Mario. I am awesome. Thank you so much for having me on here. Yes. Well, how I got into this whole lineup and into what I was doing was, I moved to Los Angeles in 2000 to be a singer myself. I ended up on Ed McMahon's Next Big Star. I was the grand champion winner on there. And, it seemed like the pinnacle of my career. I was so excited. And back then, you got record deals. You know what I mean? It wasn't like nowadays where it's just you get you just kind of get pushed out into the world because there's so many shows. But back then, you actually got signed, and I had a record deal on the table. And they did a Google search on me and found out that I was gay. And as soon as they found out, they retracted my contract. They removed that. My management tried to get me married. They tried to change the music I sang, try to change everything. And I was open to like doing some things differently. But when they started talking about me getting married, I was like, you know what? I have to be authentically me. I have to be 100% Jonathan George. I cannot pretend and act to be somebody else. So I started, and it was like that day, it reminded me going back to being a kid when I was relentlessly bullied for not playing sports and playing athletics. I was the music kid, I was the creative kid, I was the sweet kid, I was the nice kid. And got really picked on and bullied and got called names I didn't even know what it meant. I just thought all I could hear was, "You're not good enough." And I had to make a decision. And my dad's a pastor, an incredible family. But as a pastor, my dad really, my family, not just my dad, but people, everybody was like, "You can't go to heaven. You can't fulfill your purpose in your life, your calling. You can never be blessed." And so the spiritual abuse that I went through was tremendous. So here I am, I'm 27, 26 years old, and I'm sitting here going, okay, I have a choice to make. What am I going to do? And I said, you know what? I am going to walk boldly as me. I am going to be 100% me. And that day, I made a decision that I was not going to lie, that I was going to become a kind of coach to people that I so badly needed in my own life. I need someone to help me rock the person I already was rather than change me. And so I began to developing these artists. And my very first artist that I started developing, she was 13 years old. Got her on a show called America's Most Talented Kids. She was a semifinalist. And she was, if you go back to MySpace, I mean, MySpace, you think about how huge that was. She was number one on the country charts at 13 years old for nearly 3 years. And so that began the crafting of me just kind of not really knowing the music business well enough, but I was figuring it out. I used all of my talents and my gifts and my abilities. And I don't mean like talents as singing talents, but I meant just like my innate ability as a people person, a connector. So I would go meet people and ask for help and be like, hey, how do you do this? What do you need to do here? And we were all trying to figure it out together because it was the first time social media came out. We had websites and all this personal branding that was such a big deal. Well, back then we didn't think of it as personal branding. I just thought of it as stories that we had to like, we needed to craft your story so that you could walk confidently in yourself. So early on, I realized that authenticity and being true to yourself was the secret sauce to people's being confident. And that confidence is what incubated the success in people's careers. And so I have my career and I look back and it's not about people being ultimately gifted or ultimately talented. Most people would say, oh, they're just average talent, or they may be extraordinary talent. But we were talking about earlier is that I always talk about I've over here in my office, I have a picture of Britney Spears that's signed, and I always keep it right there. And it's not because I'm a huge Britney Spears fan, but what I am a huge fan of is the fact of what she has done with herself. Because like all of my clients come in, they're like, I want to be Christina Aguilera. I want to be able to sing and riff and do all these things. But I'm like, you're not that, but you are a Britney Spears. And I don't mean that derogatorily. I can't even say the word. I don't mean that in a derogative way. I mean for it to be like, you're not that kind of singer, but you can do this. And look what Britney Spears has done with herself. She has made more global impact. She has won more accolades. She's worth more money. She can put out another hit and it's going to be a number one thing. And so what she had done is that, we all think that our talents are what is going to make us rise to the top. It's not about your talent. It's not about your gift. That's 20% of it. The other 80% is how you use that talent with confidence, how you sharpen that talent. And the third thing is how you brand that talent to shine. And with those three things, it's unbelievable what will take place in your career. And it is the same thing, it's the same techniques that I use for top influencers as well as entrepreneurs, branding them and working with them. It's all about those things because people are like, well, who am I? Let me tell you who you are. You're extraordinary, and your why is so important, and we need that. So the success comes from knowing who you are and knowing how to show up in the world with that and how to brand it. That is exactly what it is. Right. Yeah. 100%. But Mario, you bring up a great point that, this past year, I don't know if you watched American Idol, but one of my girls, Harper Grace, she was in the, she walked in on, I started working with Harper when she was 11 years old. And if you look up the world's worst national anthem singer, it will bring up Harper Grace's name. And it's Harper Gruzins is actually is her real name, but she's now Harper Grace. But at 11 years old, I started working with her like a couple of weeks after that disastrous national anthem. And it was horrific what she went through. It took her 3 minutes to sing a 90-second song because of the kazoos and all the loud noise and the echo. And she was so young and nobody taught her how to do this. And so we got real clear on what it was that she wanted. But the big thing I said, listen, we have to own this story. We have to own this situation that happened to you. And how are we going to overcome it? And, it took, she's 15. She was just on American Idol. And, at first she would always kind of cringe when I mentioned it. She'd be like, do you have to talk about that? And I was like, yes, you've got to learn how to own this with your talents and your gifts and what she is incredibly gifted at. She's one of the most funny, humorous humans I know. And I was like, handle this with your humor. Laugh about it, enjoy it, get people tickled about it, and people are going to love you. And so she has owned this. And if you can imagine a 15-year-old owning a really horrible, horrific, and tragedy for a lot of people, most people would never come out of their bedroom after that situation. But she walked onto American Idol, and the very first thing that they show was what? That worst national anthem. And that could have been so humiliating. But what she did is she turned around as soon as that went off, she tore into a song and blew the judges away. And she made it, she didn't make it onto the live tapings, but they brought her back on to perform on final night with the top three because she had the #1 watched YouTube video that year. So the power of your story and owning the things about yourself and being vulnerable and showing up is so powerful. Now, on the flip side of that, if you don't, it can greatly impact you in a very negative way, or it is. We love vulnerability. We love stories. That's the reason why you know, all these TV shows came out, reality TV, we fell in love with it because it was all the drama of people, and we saw their weaknesses. We saw what made them tick. And that's the reason why we love social media, because we feed off of that kind of stuff. And so this year on America's Got Talent, I had Michaela Phillips. Now, Michaela is incredibly gifted, incredibly funny, incredibly beautiful, so talented. Probably you can't get more talented than Michaela. She was on that show and she competed against this sexy doctor. I always tell the story. He's like the sexy doctor who plays the piano and and adopts foster kids and helps foster children. And his story is very compelling and it wrenches your heart. And then you've got the little young Latina who her parents gave up everything to bring her to the United States so that she could fulfill her dream. And then they showed Michaela, and her story was so boring. It was terrible. I was just like, what is this? Did the producers like not like her or what? I'm like, she's such an incredible girl with a great story. And they're like making her sound like the most boring, ordinary person. So afterwards, she killed it. She crushed it. And I walked up to her and I said, Michaela, I just want you to know this has nothing to do with your performance, but you will not make it to the next level. And it had to do with the fact that they did not tell her story in a way that was compelling. It was not in a way that made her vulnerable or she just seemed like, she just had it all. And that's not attractive to people. And so it's really powerful when you can, and I was right, she didn't make it on, but she was the Golden Buzzard winner. I don't know if I said that, but she was a Golden Buzzer winner going into this. And so your story is so powerful. And when you can own your vulnerable spots, that's when people can fall in love with you. That's when they can connect with you on a different level, right? That's what we were drawn to. And so, and also when you own those vulnerable spots of yourself, that gives you power. We look at somebody like a Demi Lovato. Demi Lovato, she'll just name her issues. She'll tell you, she's like, have eating disorders. I cut myself. I deal with depression. I deal with having addictions. People don't run from her. People are going, man, I love you for being so real and honest with that. She disarmed the haters. She disarmed the PR nightmare and all of the media. She takes ownership, and all it did is make us love her more. So, the power is in owning your story. Well, I think the biggest thing is understanding the why. And once we can get clear on our why, then we can open up. And sometimes it's how you tell the story. You don't have to tell the full story, but you can tell a story where you're comfortable. And I'm going to have to be honest with you, is that up until this year, I've never told that story about me losing my contract because of being gay. I was like, I don't even want to mention about being gay because I was always the gay kid. Why do I have to be the gay guy? I don't want to be the gay guy. I just want to be the guy, right? And so it was so difficult for me to be able to tell that story because I'm like, I'm talking to people. I mean, nowadays it doesn't even people don't care, right? But I literally had to deal with the spiritual abuse situation, dealing with my parents saying, hey, I've got to talk about this. I know that you didn't mean to do this, but this is something that happened in my life. And going through all these different emotions just in myself. And for me, I had to understand what was my why. Why is my purpose that I am sharing these things? Right. And so once you understand your why, How are you trying to impact the world? How are you trying to bring the vibration up of this planet and to impact somebody's heart and their soul so that you can connect with them on such a deep cellular level that we can all rise together, right? So when you understand your why, it helps you be so clear on how to approach the things that happen to you in your life. And I always say this: you have to know your audience. Bless you. You're like you're fighting it. But you have to know your audience. If you're trying to be a kindergartner teacher, you're not going to tell the dark secrets and parts of your life, probably, right? So you got to be wise with who you're sharing this with, and who you're speaking to, and what you're. I mean, you just have to understand your why and who you're targeting your voice to. Let me just tell you what, if you will think about, especially now, everything has to do with every company is building their values and their purpose. Every company is now AI is built to go after our values, our core values, the values, things that we value the most. Everything's purpose driven. Millennials are bringing up the vibration in that level, in that area. Everybody's so negative about millennials, but they are very powerful, and their buying power is so strong in the marketplace. So it is forcing companies to, vibrate at a different level and have a purpose and have a meaning, right? And so as an entrepreneur, your story is going to hit people right in the heart. It gives a reason why and it gives people a way to connect with you on a deeper level. Like if I was going to buy a car from two different guys, and I connected, if one guy was trying to sell me the car and it was just about selling, and the next guy over is is sharing with me and not even trying to sell me a car, but we're connecting on a deeper level, I'm going to buy from that guy. Why? It builds trust. And I always say that, and every single person on this planet needs personal branding. Any entrepreneur, a doctor, a lawyer, anybody in a professional field has to have personal branding. And you think about it, the person that is on the TV shows, you think about the people who have podcasts, you think about some of the top influencers on the planet, their stories are so compelling and how they tell it. And it doesn't have to be traumatic, but it's about how they're so real and authentic, and they share, and we fall in love with those people. So even if you're a real estate agent, you know, share your why. There's a girl that, I mean, I swear, every 3 months she is posting something incredible on my door. And if I was going to sell my house in here in LA, I would probably be very compelled to meet with her, because she shares with me, and she works to for our community, and she's sharing different things, and she's vulnerable with us through her letters and stuff. So you know what I mean? It's the power of that is it's priceless. So if entrepreneurs, leaders, even CEOs can learn their why, they can lead their teams better. You think about how many CEOs right now that are out there that have incredible personal brands. We could probably name off, you know, 15, 20 top people right now that have incredible personal brands. And it's, you listen to their stories, you're like, look at where Tony Robbins came from. Look at his humble beginnings. Look at the struggles that he had. And that's why he's been able to impact people's lives, because they trust him as somebody who can guide them and take them through tribulations and trials because he went through them, right? It creates trust. And, you know, if you can tell your story, man, the trust is, that's the number one thing that you want with people. Oh my gosh. I have a girl that came to me when she was 16 years old, and literally in my studio, tears running down her face, crying. And she said, Jonathan, and this was in Dallas, she said, every vocal coach just told me that I can't sing, that I should give it up, that I'm overweight, that the industry will never accept me for who I am, and I just don't have the talent to do it. But what I sat and saw in this girl was the drive. I saw the hunger. I saw that thirst. And I said, you know what? I actually hear something cool in you. So let's develop it and let's concentrate on the positive things that are going on. You maybe hear my dogs right now. I'm a huge animal lover, so I've got lots of dogs. So you probably hear them in the background. But I have, I hope somebody's walking in my house. But what I saw with her was the abilities, and I began to work with her. And she soon moved to Los Angeles to begin to work with me full time. And within 5 months, out of 300 people, she auditioned, or 500 people with this a Grammy Award winning producer. She literally was the number one girl picked. And he said, man, she's got something special. And then working with him for a year, she then gets signed to one of the top producers in the world and is getting ready to be launched. Now, I can't say her name, and I sign NDAs and all this stuff a lot of times. But what is so powerful to me, again, is that she completely did exactly what I say happens for people who have the drive, who have the hunger, and know how to brand it in a way that it works. It's not about the talent. 20% is talent. The 80%, other 80% is what you do with that talent. Right. Yep. It's those who take action. Everything is about action. There's a couple of scenarios I think that happens for people. Most thing that holds anyone back is going to be fear. It's fear of their judgment. It's fear of they're not going to be good enough. It's always fear, right, that holds us back from what we want to do and what we need to do. And it's it's coaching people through that fear and to help them get past the fear. I have a master's practitioner's license in neurolinguistic programming, NLP, and it's always about helping people break through fears. And it was crazy because even in myself, uh, last December, I kept hitting this glass ceiling in my career. And I was like, what is going on? I know there's no one who is as talented as me. I've got the personality. I've got all the pieces to the puzzle that I should be a superstar in my field. But I kept hitting these glass ceilings, and I was like, what's going on in my career? And I was like, so I went to this event last December, and they were talking about fears. And I've never really thought of myself as having fears. I'm not somebody, I consider myself to be confident and secure with what I'm doing. And lo and behold, there was these dark underlying fears of judgment. I'm a perfectionist. I want it right. I want it perfect. And I was so scared of the judgment from other people if it wasn't right. I was so scared of my own judgment. And that not only did myself a disservice, but all of my clients. I probably held some of them back because I never thought that they were ready, that they were good enough, right? Because that they reflected my work with them. And so um, digging through those fears is always the biggest thing. But I can break through those pretty fast, pretty quick. I get quick results really quickly because I don't give people a chance to play with it and to think about it. I throw you up there, we get it done. And it's all about, I help people understand how to push their energy past that fear. And a lot of times, the term fake it till you make it, people are like, well, that's a bunch of shit. No, it's not. It is it's scientifically proven. And I don't even need the science, anybody else's science. I know my science behind it, because people don't have the confidence when they walk up on a stage and you're sitting there working with them. I'm like standing in a warrior pose, and I'll walk up to them and I push them right over, and they just, they fall over, and I'm like, now stand there again. That second time, I don't push them over. And I'm like, how does that feel? And they're like, that felt really good. And so we begin to imitate what we think is confidence and what is strength. And then before long, they begin to become that. I have a saying that said, in order to become, you must be. You go walk around LA and say, what do you do? I'm an aspiring actor. I'm an aspiring singer. I'm an aspiring entrepreneur. No, you're either a singer or you're not a singer. You're an actor or not an actor. You're either an entrepreneur or you're not an entrepreneur. You've got to make up your mind on what you're going to be. And it's like with, we did a big interview and a talk on Think and Grow Rich. And it's about the subconscious mind, right? What you tell, the stories you create in your mind is what the outcome will be. So if you are going to be something, you have to own that, say, this is what I am. And you're going to continue to work through that until you become completely engulfed in that. Right. And there's not a point in time it's like, oh, I'm actually it's like me. I was like, I've been coaching superstars forever. Now I am a public speaker and coach. So when do I say that I am these things? And I can remember 3.5 years ago when I started making this shift. And I was like, when do I say that I'm actually a keynote speaker? Is it the first time you speak? I was saying that I was a keynote speaker before I ever even did my first official big speech, right? And so, because I knew what I had to cast in my mind, I had a future pace, what was happening in my mind, what am I seeing? And you can't see behind me, but there's a huge wall. And I'm gonna just like do a little scan of the room, going backwards there. But that whole section is an intention wall. And I wrote out every single thing, and I've created a complete intention wall behind me saying, these are the things that I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to make happen in my life. And because it's in my heart that this is going to happen, I will make these things happen. On some way, they're going to be drawn to me. And I don't know if you have heard of The Secret, but The Secret is about what you give attention to is what comes back to you. And so if you want this is what's going to happen in your life. Now, I truly believe that you've got to vibrate at the same level of the things that you're wanting to attract. And so you can see my fingers here, the screen. But if I have a tuning fork and I'm like, ding, 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 and I'm hitting the tuning fork, ding, 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 ding. And and I stop this tuning fork, where are my fingers? This thing's backwards. Is that this other one will vibrate at that same level. Ding, even though I've stopped the other one. So your vibration, you've got to be vibrating at the same level. You got to be on that same energy level. And I know everybody's like, oh my God, what's this thing that you're talking about? Vibration and energy. Everything is vibration. Everything has energy. Everything that we do, we say, we speak. The words that we speak, it has a certain energy. And I can say, shut up, Mario. You could take that many different ways depending on the energy behind the way that I say it, right? And so that could be that way I just said it was, shut up, Mario, or shut up, Mario. Like, what's the energy behind it, right? What's the what's that vibration? Both my parents right now were diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. One, my dad with prostate cancer, and my mom with breast cancer a year ago. And thank you, but they're doing really well. But they, yeah, it's one of those things that you're like, oh my God, please just keep being great. Um, but they hook up to a machine that is called the Rife machine. And this Rife machine, you put it onto your body, and it sends electric tones through your body, and each cell has a certain tone, a certain vibrational tone that will destroy certain cancers, certain diseases. And every cell, every cancer cell has its certain pitch and tone and vibration that will destroy it. It's just like an opera singer who can sing at a certain pitch will just pop a glass, right? And so energy and vibration. So when I'm talking about that, we send off vibrations in a room. It's just like if you're attracted to somebody, there's a vibration that's happening between two people, and everybody in the room can see it and feel it, right? There's a sexual energy that's happening. You're like, oh, I'm so attracted to that person. Everybody's like, I can see it. You like him. Or like, you know what I mean? And so you've got to make sure that you're vibrating at the level of the things that which you're seeking. If that makes sense to you. Um, that's a little deep. So that's just stuff that you work through as you're working, right? That's not something like we're jumping into vibration. But intentions are the first thing that I have to find out. What is the intention of why we're doing this? What is it that we're going for? Setting goals and being very clear on the intention, because your intention has to be so super clear. If it's not clear, then you're going to wander around and waste time, waste energy, waste money. And all of that is so valuable. So we have to have clear intentions set before I can do anything. We have to understand the why we're doing this. Is it for, to gain attention towards yourself? Is it to build clientele? What is this that we're doing, right? And so once you get clarity on what you want, then you can go full force into it. Yeah. Well, number one is that, I've got printed photos out. Like I created this one picture of, took a photo that somebody had taken of me on a piano, and I wrote, and the spiritual Grammy goes to Jonathan George, right? Like that's me future pacing of what my intention is. And that's about 3 years away. I feel like that I want to start creating a spiritual album that, and I want to win a Grammy for that. And so that is something that I'm creating. So I've created photos, I've created stuff that's beautiful, where it's not just like, people taking pictures out of magazines. For me, I wanted to be able to relate to it. I wanted it to, when I pass it, there's an emotion that I feel about it. When you see something, you get an emotional attachment to that thing, right? It's like, this is what this is going to feel like when I can hit that spot. This is how I feel right now when I cash that $1 million check. I wrote myself $1 million check. It's in a frame, right? And like you think about different things, and when you can see those things on a daily basis, then your mind begins to, how can I get there? What's that next step that needs to take? And this is why coaching is so important for people. I always always said you need to have coaching to make it anywhere. Always need to have coaching. Yet I never had a coach until 3.5 years ago. And because I've always had my own drive. But then, man, when I got a coach, my life is transformed massively, and the goals that I'm hitting, and having somebody meet with me every single week to do something. A coach needs a coach, right? The greats need a coach. So it's really exciting. Anybody who's listening, if I could say one thing to you, is find a coach that you vibrate with, that someone you feel like you can trust, that is pushing you, that has your best interest at heart, somebody that is making you be dynamic, somebody that you feel confident with. Because I've had coaches in life, whether it's a teacher or whatever, that made me cower. And I didn't grow under that person, but the person who made me feel confident, that's the person that, that's the kind of coach that I always want. Because man, if you've got somebody who makes you feel confident and it's like hits you on the butt each week and says, man, come on, this is the goals that we're going to hit. You got it. You're going to do it. Boom, let's go. So every single person needs a coach. I cannot express that enough. This is a whole, I've been speaking, and this whole process for this past year that I've been with a group with Pete Vargas. Everybody needs to go check out Pete Vargas. Pete Vargas has Advance Your Reach, and I know that's a plug for Pete. But Pete, I've never met somebody that's so heartfelt, and he inspires me to even be more heartfelt. I mean, this guy is just like he oozes, just he so cares so much about your business and has taught me about speaking. Public speaking is the best, one of the best ways that you can uh, create an amazing business. And the reason why goes back to what we already talked about, and it's your story. It's because you got somebody sitting there listening to your story. You're building trust with people, and you're serving them on such a deep level. It's not you're just beating something down. You're actually feeding into somebody's life and helping them move past fears, move past things, have knowledge, business knowledge. How are we going to take your business from making a couple of thousand to making 100,000? So, when you're helping people do incredible stuff, then it's amazing. They want to work with you every single time, you know? So, um, when you like every time I do a speaking engagement, is people always are running up. How can I work with you? How can I work with you? What do we got to do? Right. So it's been a very powerful tool. 100. I've got tears welling up in my eyes right now thinking about my own journey. And I knew what my calling was early on, but I was held back because I was never felt like I was good enough. And if I could just speak one thing to anybody who's listening, if you will just listen, is that your greatness is needed. If you're not walking in your power and in your greatness, Mario, if you're not showing up and doing this to feed into people's lives, then you're not only doing yourself a disservice, but you're also robbing every single one of us of our blessings. You have certain gifts, certain abilities, certain talents, a certain message that can feed into my heart and change me and make me a better human, make me rise to a different level. Then you're missing out on one of the greatest opportunities. So every single person, and I'm going to say this to this camera, is that every single person listening to this, every ear that can hear this, is that your voice matters. You are invaluable to what needs to happen in this planet. There's so many broken lives, so many broken souls. There's people who need your laughter. There's people who need your joy. There's people who need your love. There's people who need to hear what you've got to do. There's people who are trying to start businesses, and you're a great business coach, and you can sit there and be a mom to that person or a dad to that person and actually just make that person, help them be successful. Every single person needs you. So there's somebody for everyone, and your voice matters 100%. Mm. Garth Brooks. Garth Brooks is my all-time favorite artist. I love his, and the reason why he's my favorite artist is not just I love all of his songs, I love his voice, but it's who he is as a human. He's so real, so open, and so honest. And I think this man is just as powerful. And I would love to. It'd be one of those great honors to be able to sit and have dinner with him and actually be a friend. You know what I mean? Not a surface level. Let me interview you, but like, man, I just want to hang with this guy and talk about how what we could do to impact the world on a greater level. My big My is that there would be no more. I mean, it sounds like Miss America, but truly that we would rise to such a high vibration that people are walking in their absolute best. They're striving for greatness and excellence in their life. So much so that we've taken the eyes off of ourselves, but we're actually looking at the people around us. So there is no more hunger. I mean, I look around here and no more homelessness. There is no more depression. There is no more um, the pain and the suicide rate, the bullying, the people killing, pulling guns and killing, mass murders. I mean, I think this is what we all want in the world. But the problem is that we don't step up into our greatness to help solve the problems. We sit behind our computer screens. We just rant and rave about things, but we never actually step up and make a change in our life in order to do things that we're really called to do. We're not walking in our talents and our abilities and our gifts. We're not walking in our heart. And if I could help people on a massive level reach that, that is my 100% goal. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, let's do it. Oof. You. Uh, Sweet Jesus, this is hard. Sweet Jesus is my answer. No, I'm kidding. Your why. Do I need to expand in that? It's your why. It's your purpose. That's the fastest way to get there to me. And it's taking action every single day. Finding something that you're, yes, imperfect action. Yeah. Is not having a coach. They're wasting so much time, shiny object, comparing myself to somebody else. And if you had a coach, it would change the dynamics of your life in every aspect. And that is in mind, body, soul, and finances. Yeah, and I think most people who hire a coach, they're looking for that. I mean, they're like, hey, I need help. I know that I need help. You think about how much noise that we have in our lives every day, and a coach can really help stop the noise. Let's get focused on what we're doing, and let's go for the goal line. What does that mean? What do you mean by that? Exactly. Oh, number one is your ethics, is how you approach people, your fulfillment of what you're going to do. You're honest. Your ethics are impeccable. And I don't think that I have one person that I could not call today that I worked with 20 years ago that would who they will always answer my call. And it's because even if it ended in a not the greatest way, it still ended in the best way that it could possibly be, where it was, hey, I approached them with love, and I never treated anybody like they were a dollar bill. Uh, I'm looking at all these books that are sitting over here. Uh, yeah, I'm like looking at all these books that I have sitting over here. Um, One of the best, well, the how to influence for how to win friends and influence people. That was an incredible book. That was one of those first books that my dad was like, "You need to read this. It's very powerful." There's a lot, but that's a great book for people to start at. But I mean, I've got Think and Grow Rich: High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard, Grit by Angela Duckworth. These are kind of new ones. Of course, I love Wayne Dyer. Wayne Dyer's got amazing books. There's a spiritual solution to every problem. I've got like all these different incredible books sitting over here that I'm a terrible reader, but I still have those books, and I'll kind of thumb through and pick stuff up. They're great. Yes, yeah, incredible. But I'm also a visual person. I wish that everything came with pictures and movies. Yes. I'm such a visual person. I mean, everything's visual for me. Like it's gotta, I get, yeah, right, right, right. Not at all. But literally I can get lost. I can read a full chapter and be like, I just created a 2-hour movie in my head. I don't know what I read. It's amazing what happens. I just completely detach from my head and I go into la la land. It's like meditation for me. Reading is difficult. But my book, Unleash Your Rockstar, will be coming out. And it's a short read for that very reason. But it comes with a workbook. It's because it's all about action. Short reading, take action. So that's the powerful part, because if I'm taking action, then I'm in it. But just reading something sometimes can get a little boring for me. Uh, JonathanGeorge.com. All social media is Jonathan George, but I'm really excited about Unleash Your Rock Stars, the full movement of really helping the world in a massive way to step. This movement is about unleashing the greatness within you so that we can raise the vibration of this planet together. And it's unleashyourrockstar.com. And if what I have for your people is, and maybe you can put a link down or whatever, but we didn't really get to talk about your superpowers and what your true talents are, because everybody views talents as Beyonce singing or whatever. But your superpowers are what you're innately born with, and those are things that is generosity, great, have a heart of gratitude, a person who's fair, somebody who's sympathetic, somebody who's empathetic. So there's different. So you're somebody who's a great leader. There's talents that you have that are innately born, and I've got a little thing that you can do to really kind of hone in on what is your greatest talents. Even when you've got things, when you don't have the hard skills to do something, if you will show up with these great talents that you have, uh, it is amazing how you'll be like, and then you can go to Unleash Your Rock Star. Okay. And it's unleashyourrockstar.com. .com. Yeah. Same to you, Mario. Thank you for always, putting out great interviews with people and showing up like a freaking rock star at all times. I mean, your backdrop, I'm like this guy. When I first looked at your podcast, and I was like, this guy right here is got his heart in what he's doing, and so I truly appreciate that. You always put your best foot forward to make beautiful, you know, beautiful podcast. Right. Yes, sir. It's going to take every single one of us. So keep rising to the top, my brother. Yeah. So